Okay, everybody, now we created the strap and we can go and create the audio system in here. But before that, this one really doesn't make sense to me. And looks like we could go and try to make a ring in here that we could tie this one to. So now instead of creating new geometry, I'm going to borrow from the geometry that we have. So now this ring is exactly in place that we wanted. So let me go in and I'm gonna go into edit mode, excuse me, and take this face and Shift D to duplicate and P to separate it by selection. Okay, now we have this ring in here that we could use. So let's bring the pivot in the center and let's go back and try to select it. Okay, now this is it. I'm going in the edit mode and just try to insert. Now delete this whole thing in the middle. Now I'm hitting F3 so that it brings it back. And now let's apply the rotation and the scale. The first thing is adding a solidify modifier. We do not want that to be too much. So 0.1 looks like a good value. But let's see about the normals to see if they are wrong or right. Smooth based on 30 degrees, and it's okay. Now let's go make the offset 0. Okay, do not want any offset. And then I'm gonna go in edit mode, an edge loop that goes all across, and I'm going to rescale that. But before that, we need to make sure that the proportional editing is turned off. Okay, like so. And then a bevel on this ring. Okay, now it's time to go and try to align this ring. Rotate 90 degrees. And let's take this, drag it out for now. And let's go out of this mode so that we can see a little bit better. And now it's time to align this piece in here. Okay, it's good. And now we can take this and try to bring it in here. This way, it makes much more sense to me. It has a connector as well, and that is more natural. You can go and try to make more changes to this, but this is how I'm liking about it. And overall, when I'm taking a look, I really do not like this strap. It's not matching the quality bars that we did for the rest of this. So now let's go and recreate that. And this time maybe do some changes to the workflow. So let's add the single vert, bring the pivot exactly to the same place. And in edit mode, I'm going to go and this time create a rounder shape that the spacing in between the pieces is roughly the same. So now let's take these two, M and merge by distance. Okay, and now I'm going to make this one the pivot. So looks like this one is a good one. So let's go in here and I'm going to make this one the pivot. Okay, now apply the rotation and the scale, and in edit mode, in the edge mode, right click on N. Let's see where the faces are facing basically, and then take this one in the polygon mode. I'm going to delete that. And now let's take these vertices, these edges, and try to move them up. Okay, just a little bit. I'm going to add subdivision surface. Maybe 3 is enough. And now I'm going to take this one, and in vertex data, I'm adding them to the same vertex data. Okay, now let's go and add the cloth modifier before adding the solidify modifier. In the previous one, we added the solidify modifier, after that the cloth. So now I'm adding the cloth. Let's bring this back so that every shading issue that happened, we will add the solidify modifier to make them all right. So let's set this one to 15, and then the quality of collision, let's set it to 10. And once more in here, in the shape pin groups, I'm going to add that. Okay, now let's go and simulate. Okay, now this is a better thing. I'm more liking this one than the previous one. So it's jaggedy, so we need to go and shade smooth. And one thing to clear these shading issues is that I'm going to add the solidify after the cloth modifier. So let's see what happens. Let's add the solidify modifier. Okay, now it's too much. We need to go set the offset first to 0 and then this one to 0.1. Now you see there's not much of those shading issues and everything is looking all right. So let's set it to 0.2. Okay, now this is a lot better than this one. I'm actually liking this one more. And let's set this one to 0.3. Okay, it's all right. And now another subdivision surface to make it smoother and better. Okay, now this is actually a lot better than the previous one. So now subdivision surface applied, cloth applied, and the solidify applied. Now let's see, check for any issues. Everything is all right. Let's apply the scale and rotation and then again check for any issues. So nothing happened, and I'm gonna delete this and bring this one to here. So Alt and A while taking this one to align. Okay, now it's a good one, so we need to go and try to place it in here roughly. So a bit of rotation, and in here we need to do some scaling. Take these and while in proportional editing try to make the scaling a bit more, smaller. And this ring as well could be rotated. So it's not making sense in that way. Again, I'm doing one thing. Let's go see this one. And then I'm gonna rotate that instead. Okay, like so. And then rescale it so that it has a place to connect with this ring. Okay, now I feel like this is making more sense. And again, I can go to edit mode, bring my pivot to here so that the movement can get a little bit easier on this side. Just a bit. And we're good to go to the next piece, which is the audio kit up top in here. So let's take a look at the references, and this is what we're going to create. I took the main idea from this mixer in here. We need to make an audio kit. It's going to have some paneling, but you see the paneling on this one is going to be positive. All of the paneling that we have done so far have been negative, and we subtracted to the surface. But this time we are going to go and do a positive boolean. And then we're going to make this audio plug as well. And then later on, when we reach to the headphone section, we'll make this spiral wire thing. And we will make that procedural so that we could change the design wherever we wanted to. So now the first thing is making a paneling up top of the main piece. Okay, now let's go in here and I'm bringing everything back and I want that to be in here. So let's go bring a cube and I want that to be exactly in here. Okay, perfect. And now we need to attach this to the piece in here, and we're going to do that using the boolean. So let me apply the rotation and the scale, and then I'm going to take this and this one, control minus. This is going to carve it to the surface, but we're going to make it union. You see now, using the union, it has cut this piece exactly into here. And now this is part of the same thing. Let me bring the weighted normal modifier down first. So let me isolate this. And now if we go and try to do a bevel or do whatever on this piece, this up top piece as well is going to be calculated with it. And let me bring a bevel modifier so that we understand what we are talking about. So now the bevel is not doing anything because of a lot of the vertices that are so close to each other. But to test some things, I'm going to go in the geometry, and there's something in here, clamp overlap. And wherever two vertices are so close to each other, it prevents the mesh to be beveled because it's going to cause a lot of issues. So now I uncheck this. You see now this is a very bad result. And Nobody's ever going to see that. So now let's set this one to 0.1. And now you see, because this one has been welded to that piece, the bevel is getting shared among both of them. So you see the bevel happens in here, and that is because this piece and this one have been united together. Okay, now let's go back. I feel like there should be a boolean or something in here. Okay, whatever. Okay, now this is the piece, and if I bring it up, you see now it disconnects. So now I'm gonna go in and take the face and try to bring it down a bit. But before doing anything, let me go and see a total composition. Take a look and see what is going on there. And we could go and try to bring that down a bit. Okay, like so. And now I'm taking this face and drag it down in Z just a bit. Okay, and now take this one, drag it in. And this one as well, drag it in. And these two faces, we could scale them in Y to make a bevel profile on that. Scale and in Y. Okay, now that we're taking a look at this, you see now this is giving us a very better result. So now let's go and see about carving the details in here. And you see this one later on that we're applying the booleans and making the low poly, this is going to stay because it's altering the silhouette. It's actually changing something. And we couldn't bake this one into a normal map because it's too far off from the actual surface, and we needed that to stay there. So now let's take a look at here. Later on we will carve something onto that. And for now, I'm having in mind to create some of these buttons. And of course, a place for this audio. Something like this. Okay, but before that, let's go and try to bring the cylinder in here. Make it a perfect cylinder and drag out. Okay, now I'm going to copy this one time so that we have a backup copy from that. And I'm taking this Control minus. Okay, so easily. Now we need to drag this one out in here, and let's go back and take it, and we need to add a bit of bevel on this side to make it capture better. And I'm bringing that one out just a bit, and let's try to bring this one in. Shift and N while having that face selected and inside, and then Control B. Okay, like so. Now we have actually some details on here. And looks like we're getting some bugs. Let's see why they are here. It's because we have gone too far with the reversed bevel. So I'm Control Z-ing that. Looks like we need to take this edge and drag it down a bit. And now this edge could be beveled to actually give us these details. Okay, now this is good, and this is going to be for the audio kit. I'm not going to make a positive boolean on this because later on we would bake this into the normal map. So let's make this one a bit smaller. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to bring it up in Z to make it capture all of the details, or bring it down. Okay, like so. And a bit more as well to capture more details. And now I'm going to place something for these buttons as well. You see, these buttons have this cave, and then the buttons are placed, just like what we did for this one. You see, we have done that. So now I'm going to take this one, and since we have some bevels and all kinds of things on that, I'm going to remove this and only take this one. Shift D to duplicate it, and I'm dragging that in here. And since it's going to be perfectly placed in there, I'm going to copy that, maybe sometimes, okay, like so. And then I'm going to take them and maybe, no, this is okay. And then join them together, Control and J. And then I'm selecting this as the host piece and then Control minus, and you see it created this result. But one thing is that I could take these and try to bring them just a little bit to this side to make room for something if we wanted to make. Okay, and now it's time to place the buttons in here. Let's bring this cylinder and hold down Shift so that it's an exact cylinder. And later on, we will decide on this button if we want it to be baked on the normal map or if we want it to be real geometry. Okay, apply the scale and rotation, and then add a small bevel to capture some of those details. Okay, it's all right. Let's move it to here, and then we could copy that exactly to these places. And the details on these are going to be done when we do the texturing inside Substance Painter. And as I said, some of the details are going to be done in Blender, some of them in ZBrush, and some of them are going to be done when we do the texturing. Okay, now that I have this, we could go and take this Boolean piece in here. And I'm going to make that a bit smaller because we do not need that much detail in there. Okay, like so. And one more thing is that I'm going to take this and duplicate it so that we could add a volume controller as well. You see, I'm really liking this design in here, and we might add that. Plus this audio plug as well. So I'm taking this, dragging that to the left a bit, and I go in edit mode, Alt and G to select everything, Shift D, right click to paste that in, and then I'm dragging that one out to make a room for that volume controller as well. So one of them is going to be for the audio device and one of them for the volume controller. Okay, this one done as well. And now I'm thinking about adding a detail in here as well. Let's go take a look, and I'm going to add the cylindrical detail. Okay, to do that, I'm going to bring a cylinder basically. And we're gonna do one thing in here. Let's go in here. I'm going to take this face, isolate it, and now while having that selected, I'm hitting P by selection, and now I'm deleting this one. So now we have this piece. Now in order to get that shape that we see in here, you see all of the edges are moving towards the center. We could select this face and hit M and collapse. No, let's hit I to create an inset to create those edges, and then we have this face, M collapse. You see now all of those edges are moving in the same place. Now in order to separate these edges, we could go in here, add the wireframe. Okay, now this is going too far. Let's set it to 1 or 0.1 or 0.01. Let's play with the values to see what we get from here. Okay, and now this is non-destructive as well. I can go take this vertex and hit Control and B and then V to make it the vertex. So now I'm gonna go and select these 90-degree vertices that are in here, and then I'm going to drag them out like so, and then let's see what it has done. Okay, I'm freestyling in here to see what result I can get by moving some of the vertices. Okay, this one and this one. Like so, and let's try to drag them in. Okay, you see, we can simply get such a design in here. Let's set it to 0.2. Okay, now we have this, and we could go and try to carve this into the surface. Let's apply the modifier and take this, drag it down, Looks like this needs to be a smaller a bit. Okay, like so. And it's not doing anything right now because first, let me make that a bit smaller and then apply the rotation and the scale. We need to bring it up exactly on the surface. Okay, like so. And now we need to go and bring in a solidify modifier exactly on this object. So that is making that chaotic. Let's set the offset to 0 and the thickness to a very, very low number. Now you see, we should get this one carved in the place by bringing that up in Z. Let's bring that up exactly on the surface, like so. And you see, we have this one carved in place. And then we could add a bit of more detail to this by adding maybe subdivision surface. And this needs a bit of drag up to appear fully in the result. Okay, like so. And adding some more vertices to make that. Okay, now it's a good detail, maybe a brand or something, sign of a brand or anything that you can imagine of. Okay, now this one is done as well. And now let's move on to making the volume controller and the audio plug. And since it's going to make or require another lesson, I'm going to cut it off in here and do that in the next one. Okay, see you there. But one thing that I noticed is that the place for audio plug is okay, but this one needs to get rescaled a bit. So let's go in the edit mode. I'm taking this and dragging that out in here. And this one needs a drag out. Let's bring that, and it needs a scaling. Okay, like so. And let's drag it down in Z so that all of the curvature details get captured. Okay, now this is a lot better. And now that we have the place for them, I see you in the next one where we create the details for them. Okay, see you there.